I ended up booking this job on Boss, which first was for the Stars Network way back when, I guess almost 10 years now. And I thought that was it. I was like, oh man, this is it. I'm gonna take this reel. I'm gonna move to LA, and I'm gonna be a big movie star. And I went out there, and then because it was also one of the coldest Chicago winters, and we were dumped on with snow, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, I gotta get out of this city. I can't do this anymore. I gave away everything I owned, packed 2 bags, moved to LA with nothing but that one reel in my hand. And 2 months later, I booked Chicago Fire, and it brought me right back.
And it brought you back to Chicago. That's amazing. Hi, Joe.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy we finally got a chance to get this figured out. And again, I'm so sorry for my tardiness. It's
Oh no, don't worry about it. And thank you for doing it on a Sunday. It's been a pretty crazy schedule, so this is the only day the day of rest. Can you believe it? Not even a day of rest.
No such thing anymore. No such thing as the day of rest. Yeah. No, Sunday's actually a work day for us now. We work Sunday through Thursday. Our Friday, Saturdays are our weekends, in order to stagger the 3 shows on the studio to kind of avoid too many people in one place at one time. So it's kind of a COVID precaution.
Okay. So how come you're not working today?
I was. Yes, I was in a rehearsal. We're actually doing a very different filming process for this coming episode 5, which we're doing for this season. It is a very self-contained episode. So a couple of us are stuck somewhere, and it's so we're kind of filming it like a play from beginning to end over the course of 3 to 4 days. So we're actually coming in and like taping out the floors, rehearsing every beat, every scene, bringing the actors in early. We've never really, we haven't even had a table read over 8 years. So it's, we usually go on the day is when we're kind of figuring it all out together, because we're just kind of a moving train at this point. So this is new to us for sure, but it's so exciting, like really exciting stuff. Have you had any kind of issues with that, with like COVID shutdowns or anything like that? Like,
we had a little bit of a scare, which shut us down for 1 week. I was able to shoot for the second week. Some people couldn't work for 2 weeks, but it's just about doing it as safely as possible. And if anyone does get ill, just somehow working around it. We've got amazing COVID people that come in, and we've got watches that like buzz when you're too close to someone. It's all like
I haven't heard about these watches.
Oh, you need to.
We don't have watches. No, I
need to talk to someone about these watches. It's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting cheated out of watches. I want watches.
But it tells you you've had like 600 interactions, close interactions with people. Like it will bling twice for the same person. But it's kind of like crazy. I feel like pre-pandemic, I just didn't know just how much rubbish I touch and how many people I brush during the day. Like now I'm just so aware of not touching anything. Like I'm actually scared of touching things and being close to people. Like it's just, you got to be so, safe.
I couldn't agree with you more. Like, it's like, we're a really touchy-feely cast. Like, we're very lovey-dovey, there's usually someone on top of somebody, not in a very platonic way, but like on our set a lot of the time. So it's been really hard for us to kind of sort of learn a new body language, really, right? Like, it's like, this is the handshake now, is this kind of elbow thing. And but I find it fascinating. You guys got like all this high tech, like to tell you what's going on in terms of who you're interacting with and how many times. And, I think they throw us in there with, some masks and some hand sanitizers and, don't touch anybody.
Stay away from everyone. We've got all of that as well. And that's a new thing. We only were introduced to it last week. So don't get too jealous. It's a new thing.
Well, maybe it'll come our way. Wait, you guys film where?
We film in New York, so I'm in New York.
Maybe it's just making its way west slowly but surely.
So you live in Chicago?
I've been in Chicago for gosh, almost 20 years. I moved out here in 2001. Went to grad school here, and then did a lot of theater, and then like for like 10 years, and a lot of bartending and serving and all that kind of stuff. And then I ended up booking this job on Boss, which first was for the Stars Network way back when. I guess almost 10 years now. And I thought that was it. I was like, oh man, this is it. I'm gonna take this reel. I'm gonna move to LA, and I'm gonna be a big movie star. And I went out there, and then because it was also one of the coldest Chicago winters, and we were dumped on with snow, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, I gotta get out of this city. I can't do this anymore. I gave away everything I owned, packed 2 bags, moved to LA with nothing but that one reel in my hand. And 2 months later, I booked Chicago Fire, and it brought me right back.
And it brought you back to Chicago. That's amazing.
And we've been here ever since. And like, it's, suffering the cold in ways that I didn't know you could. Like, because, we film it doesn't matter what the condition is. We filmed a season that was known as Siberia because there was like 6 months of below 0 temperature. Or it was like we started like with a huge dump of snow in November, and we didn't see the ground until like April. Yeah,
I'm not built that way. I'm African. My mother's African, and so I'm just like, New York's winter is enough for me. So
I was gonna say, like, how are you taking on? Because I was born and raised in New York, so I know New York winters pretty well, but they're just nothing like here.
From the 2 winters I've spent here, so we did the first pilot in March 2019. Yes.
Yeah.
March 2019. That was freezing. That's the most cold I've ever been. And I'm like, how can I act and remember lines and breathe and like move and be on my mark? Like, it was freezing. I've never experienced that. And last winter wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad.
So you mentioned you're African, but clearly you have a British accent. Am I wrong in saying that?
Yes.
So you were born and raised in London?
Yep. So mother is Ugandan, born and raised in Uganda. Moved to London. Father is Polish, Russian, Jewish. I was born, along came my sister and I. We were born in London. Yeah.
You remind me so much of Eamon Walker's daughter, actually, because Eamon was also born in London, and his daughter has beautiful fair. Like, you guys have a lot of kind of facial characteristics that are very similar, and you sound a lot alike. Like, where in London?
So I grew up in Hammersmith, which is kind of right near the River Thames. People go there to see the Thames. There's like a lovely Thames walk.
I was just talking to my wife about the River Thames literally today.
Were you? That's so random.
Well, how random is that? Well, do you ever have you have an Apple TV? Like, there's when you're not watching anything.
Yeah. Oh, and they do the backgrounds, the screensavers. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like the River Thames one was on, and me and my wife were just like, man, you know what she was like, you know what I miss? Just being able to walk down the River Thames. Like we've done that 9,000 times. Like, we did it once, but it was a uniquely memorable day because Eamon had taken us up and down. Like, Eamon, one of my favorite things to tell people that he doesn't like to brag about, but it was like he was the first Black man to play Othello at the Globe.
Wow.
Yeah, which was only like 15, 20 years ago. So I think that's kind of absurd on the Globe's part, but still tremendous kind of accomplishment, I think. Wow. Right. And so as we're walking down the Thames, we meet him at the Globe, and he shows us kind of his stomping grounds and what he did, and we ended up walking all the way down the Thames towards Buckingham, right? That's am I right to say that it ends, or like, I don't know what I'm thinking of, some government building maybe at the end of the Thames?
Yeah, I guess. I forgot.
And there was some crazy museum along the Thames as well, like some oddities museum. But anyway, it was just a really uniquely special walk, and we remember it very with a lot of love. Yeah, we loved our visit there.
It's special. It took me leave London to realize just how bloody special it is. It's beautiful. Not to say that New York isn't. New York is its own has its own character. New York is so lively, like it's the city that never sleeps. There's just so much available here. But I just took that for granted. I took the beauty of London for granted. And I think, yeah, moving here reminded me to never take anything for granted. And I can't wait to go back and see everyone and squeeze everyone, you know, when it's safe, you know. Lovely to be in between, because I love New York. New York was actually on my partner and my's like bucket list to live here. That was on like my manifestation board. Like I wanted to live in New York. That's something I wanted to tick off. And then along comes this audition. And then we actually said, can you imagine if I booked it and we moved to New York? And then here we are. So that's just.
Can I ask how long between like you manifesting that you wanted to live in New York and you getting the role? Like, do you remember kind of putting that intention and the like the gap between?
I would say I write stuff, and it's been on my list for, I would say, a couple of years. No, maybe a year before I moved here. But there's a few things that, you know, I write down. Not to say that I've gotten all those things at Miami Beach House and this and that, but that was like a big thing of mine. Like that's something like I don't want to be that person that's you know, that was born in London, grew up in London, dies in London. Like I want to be elderly and I want to live in New York, or, you know, big city. And it's got, you know, so much going on in terms of acting. And so
Tis the city. It is the city.
Yeah.
Like it's like that. I mean, I think, you know, a lot of the United States is like, if you're in New York or LA, that's where you got to be an actor. You know, I personally, what's funny is my career really started here. You know, I came straight out of graduate school and started my career as an actor here in Chicago. And I feel like hopefully more and more, especially now that so much is filming here, Chicago will sort of start to really take its place amongst those kind of big cities that have a really deep pool of talent. I think we don't get to explore enough of what Chicago's capable of. But I definitely, like you, am a goal writer and a manifester, and I really believe in that kind of stuff. Only because it's worked for me. You know, like I ended up getting this random job at Lululemon when I was right before I moved to LA, and their whole thing is goal writing. And so like they taught us all about this goal writing and kind of intention setting. And I ended up randomly writing, like, you know, because they say 1, 5, and 10 year goals. And like when I had that job at Lululemon, what I had written down was I want to work a full year as just an actor, you know. And then again, that very next year is when I booked Chicago Fire. And I say it because I think for whoever might be watching this, or whoever's listening, I have found it has been my experience with a lot of people who are goal writers and manifestors that it really happens. Like a lot of it really kind of comes to fruition if you allow yourself to believe that you can be in that space. And so I just think it's really beautiful to hear of another experience where someone goes, you know what, I want to be in New York. I want to be able to live there and see what that world is. And then it happens to come true. You know, I think that's a good message.
On the flip side as well, we can manifest things we don't even want to be manifesting. So we got to watch what we say, because, you know, we could be saying I'm this, I'm that, you know, berating ourselves, and that will come to fruition as well. You know,
so
the power that we have. We're just so powerful in terms of what we can manifest, what we bring to fruition, what we vocalize. You know, we're just going to be very careful.
I could not agree with you more.
By the way, just cover Zoom quickly. Isn't it insane that the whole world is using this platform, which I don't know about you, but I'd never heard of it before, and everyone's using it, and it's been quite. You know, some people like us as actors, we see ourselves on a screen, so we're used to seeing ourselves. But a lot of people aren't used to seeing themselves. So it's been like, friends are like, I find it so like, I've become comfortable with seeing myself now, because it's like something
that's kind of wonderful. Actually, I think that, you know, it's funny because you're right. I had no idea what Zoom was until, you know, it feels like Zoom came as soon as COVID did. Like they just
Yeah.
they were born of the same fruit or something.
I wish someone told me and I would have invested in their stocks or something.
Oh, tell me about it.
Tell me.
Yeah, tell me about it. You know, and it's, but first of all, I think that's kind of a beautiful sentiment. I love this idea of, I feel more comfortable seeing myself, which is really wonderful. Like, it's like, I know a lot of people don't have the luxury, I think, of being outside of themselves and seeing how they represent themselves to the world, right? I think we have the luxury of being able to be like, oh, when I make that face, I could see how somebody might think that I'm a complete jerk, you know, like, so I think we have that luxury, whereas other people don't. But to be able to be a little bit more comfortable in your skin when you're seeing yourself talk to someone else, I think is great. My favorite is when people just stare at themselves in the screen while they're talking to a whole other person. Like that's what I think is hilarious.
It's funny. And it's funny when also, you know, I like having it on the view where you can see everyone, and I like kind of going around and saying that person's not listening. That person's listening.
It's my favorite.
But when I don't like when it's like one person pops up and then someone speaks over the other, and it's kind of like discombobulating.
And then there's this random person who made some weird sound, but they don't have anything to say, but it's just on there and somebody else is talking. And yeah, it's so great. And there's so many random mishaps like on this thing that are hilarious, just, you know, because of what it is.
And in terms of like self-taping, like auditions, you know, I have friends that do auditions now on Zoom.
Oh yeah, I've had friends who have booked whole book shows, not even auditioning, just like through the Zoom interview, right? Okay. Just like having conversations with the producer, and they go, "This is great, you'll be great," and then they just kind of,
"I trust you. Listen, you got this."
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant chat to be able to book it off a
He's very charming. He has a way about him, for sure, that you can't deny.
It's just interesting though with so for instance, with this job, I booked this from London. I did a self-tape. Self-tapes are just so wild. I think they're just so, and also we're so, I don't know about you, but we're perfectionists and, you know, critical and like, let me do it again. The person that's doing it with you is bloody, you know, just bloody say the lines and stop it. So but I just feel like nothing does beat, you know, being in a room. I feel like that adrenaline, that a little bit of that, not a little bit of it, that anxiety and that, and that, you know, being able to get feedback there and then, and let's play with it and direction. I feel like nothing beats that. But now with self-taping and with Zoom, it's just incredible that I can book this role from London. Like, it's just wild. It's so, I'm just so lucky.
Well, and that even that we're like recording tapes on our phone, you're like recording auditions on our phones. Like that's like insane to me still. And I agree with you. I think that like there is something about also kind of knowing that there's a limit, right? Knowing that it's like, well, they probably only got like 10, 15 minutes before they got to get the next person in here. So you're not going to be able to spend an hour and a half and like keep doing it over and over again, which unfortunately is what I definitely do. And then I think you overthink it and then it becomes too much. And then, you know, there is a certain level of kind of spontaneity, I think, that exists in our world. And if we don't have that, then it can get stale. So yeah, it is a mixed bag. It is weird.
It's just great that you don't need to be everywhere now, though. I remember, you know, I testing for things and having to fly out to LA on the next flight and dealing with the anxiety and the time difference and just being in a, you know, in a different place. It's like, you know, it's nice that you can do it in the comfort of your home. I just think nowadays.
I agree.
Has your show progressed, and in what way has it progressed? Like 9 seasons, has it?
You know, I think in a lot of ways the same way that life progresses, right? Like I think you learn new things about the people that you're following along, and because of that they become different humans, right? Like I think for me specifically, what's been fascinating about being an actor on a show for this long, and frankly, being a character that crosses over to 3 different shows, right? First of all, as an actor, it is like one of the biggest opportunities. I mean, it is the opportunity of my acting career, hands down. And what's been fascinating is coming from the theater world, you develop a character and you have a really kind of clear sense of the beginning, the middle, and end of that character's arc. You understand where they're going and where they're going to end up. And with this, it's almost like you're an audience member. Like you're learning really just right before people get to see it on air, these new manifestations about your character, right? Like I started off on this one rig, the way that they wrote it was like, I'm a truck guy for life, man. This is who I am. I literally got a tattoo on my body to like express how committed I was to that particular unit. And then that very next season, they were like, actually, but now he's been trying to go on and be a squad member for many seasons. So we revealed that. And then I move over to another rig. And then, a million different relationships, and you never know which one's going to stick. And then you finally, there's just so many, it's just so fascinating to see a character develop that you're playing and have to kind of roll with those punches, right? Because I think we try to develop as fully fleshed a character in our minds as actors as soon as we can, so that we can really bring as much kind of vibrancy and nuance to the role. But when you don't know what's coming, for your character episode to episode and year to year and season to season, it's just interesting. It's like a very interesting process, kind of learning the character as he grows, as opposed to knowing him full out from the beginning. How about yourself? What's the ride been like for you?
I'm going to add to that. That's kind of similar. I think as people, we think we know ourselves, and sometimes we surprise ourselves as well. So it's a similar thing, I think, is with you and with me and with everyone. We're not one thing. We're completely, versatile and multi-dimensional, and you're not going to be that same person throughout 9 seasons. You're going to grow and expand and surprise yourself and be surprised by the character, and that's really lovely. So we're on season 2. There's 4 of us. 4 of us, 4 of the 4 main FBI agents, and which is quite different from obviously with FBI. It's just Zico, Zaki, and Missy. And so it's difficult, I think, to go into every single character. So what we did last season is each of us had a backstory, a character backstory episode where we went into our family life and saw a bit more about the character. This season, there's going to be more of that kind of in every episode, which is really exciting. We
Very cool.
See, my family life, Julian's family life, Keisha's and Kellen's, and it's just really lovely. I don't want to spoil anything in terms of what's happening with my character's backstory, but she has 1 daughter. There's talk about whether they're going to expand the family. It's just, it's beautifully written. And so, for instance, Julian, the lead, his father has been introduced this season, and it's just, I don't know, there's like this family drama element to it, and it's just really beautiful to see. Julian's relationship with his father is just so special. It has me crying every time I see it. It's just so powerful. You see this strong FBI agent, and he's our boss, and then you see him go back home and he reverts to being this little boy, and he plays it so well. And so I think the writing are trying to do similar things with our characters. We're one thing and we're another thing. And it's just, it's been really beautiful to read and amazing to watch. Like I said, Julian just did, he was the first one to do his kind of big family scenes with his father. The episode we're shooting right now is myself and my wife and our family stuff. And I just look forward to more of it. That's really exciting for me as an actor, I think, to get those emotional juices flowing.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think actually, just listening to you and sort of our our similarities and our differences in the shows, I feel like what I've found that the Wolf world is really good at doing is that exactly. They really are sort of focused on the family aspect of the like common workplace in civil service jobs, right? Like it's like there is this sort of dynamic where you have to understand the humanity of some of these people, and that's hard to do. And I think what I think one of the successes of our show, and frankly the One Chicago universe, I think, is how everybody, there is a very big family element, right? There's a reason it's called One Chicago, and like it's called, and we constantly talk about being one family in one city, because that's what I think brings people back, right? Like we can do a lot of big action stuff. We can do car chases and fires and, all sorts of stuff all day long. But it's those moments, it's those human moments. It's when Julian goes and acts like a child, even though he is the leader of, a very elite group of people, that makes you go, oh, I know that guy. I see myself in him or her, or, and that's why I think there's such longevity in the Wolf world, because he really finds a way, or they, excuse me, the writers, it is a universe of people that work for the Wolf Enterprise. They hone in on that concept, I think, and they really try to drive home the humanity and the family in these kind of very stressful, high intensity jobs.
And I
Which
wonder what's going on with the world right now, if that's something that's needed more and more, with just the uncertainty of our everyday. It's quite nice seeing, I don't know about you, so slight change of conversation and topic. I love boxing. I'm all about like militant hit. And during the pandemic, I found that's too aggressive on my body, and I've fallen in love with yoga. I love like more gentle things, and going back to, I feel like right now with what's needed in the world is connection and community and family. And so I think it's beautiful to see that, especially now on television, and those kind of, up against the wall kind of car chases and, arresting people and interrogations, like that's still exciting. But I feel like more and more it's needed, that kind of humanness on.
Man, we are so on the same page, sister. Like I feel like it's what you said about London, right? You don't miss it till you don't have it. And I think in this world right now, we've been so deprived of our families and human connection, and just being able to be with one another, that this is so refreshing. I mean, even under the situations that we're working under, right? To be so, everybody's done masks, and it's funny because like I know a lot of people don't know this at home, but yes, we all wear masks except for when we are outside, or except when we're filming. But the entire crew is wearing masks, plus face masks, and like there's all this social distancing. And so even with all of that, even without being able to see one another really, just to be able to be around people and have a shared experience of creating something together has been so incredible. And you're right, I think we're all yearning for that connectivity more and more, because we miss it, because we really now have had a chance to go, oh wow, it really kind of sucks to not be able to see my mom or my grandma or my sister. And even though they drove me crazy last Christmas, I said, gosh, I really want to see them again. Yeah, it's just it's been hard to not miss that for sure. Yeah.
Wow. Did we take life for granted, huh?
Sister, more so than I think we knew. And I ultimately hope that this experience, it has been, today I saw the first trucks on the news rolling out with Pfizer's first vaccine this morning, which I think is a tremendous sign of hope. And it is also a tremendous sign of what we're capable of if we allow ourselves to be more understanding and more accepting and more open to dialogue and conversation, and really investing ourselves in how we all grow. And so I just hope that we walk out of this better as a race, as a human race, you know?
Absolutely. It's been so wonderful talking to you.
My goodness, the pleasure has been mine. Thank you so much. I look forward to that big FBI Chicago Fire crossover when we finally get to meet in person.
You need to start talking to people. I'll talk to people over here as well.
I'll do my thing on this end, you do your thing out there, and we'll figure it out.
You got it. So lovely talking to you.
Likewise, thank you so much. All the best, and be safe out there in NYC.
Thank you. Likewise in Chicago. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.